Today I'm going to show you another way in which you can use your Neocolor tools. And that way is as a tool to create some sketches before you work on a final painting. So I have my big set of Neocolor tools here, and I'm going to select a few colors and show you what I'm thinking when I'm speaking of sketches. I took a few pictures, I sent them to Lightroom to edit them a little bit just to make sure that I could see the areas I wanted to paint a bit more clearly. If you don't have Lightroom on your computer, you can download it for free on your phone, I believe, or any other picture editing app would work. It's just that for me, this part here, I really wanted to see clearly, so I just lifted the shadows a little bit, played a little bit with the colors as well. So let me show you, I have a few reference pictures that I'm gonna choose from. I took this one mainly to be able to see the inside. But what I would like to do is something like this. So the flower and the sky in the background. So maybe zoom in on the flower or something. I'm not sure. I have another picture of the inside. I think I would like to paint a close-up of this. Maybe something like this would be nice. First, we're going to select our colors. Probably this pink. What do we have in the other, on the other side? Okay, so let's start with the pinks for the flowers. I have 3. I have this one. In fact, the name is purple, but it looks like a pink. So let's just have a look, and then I might add some water after this. Then we have pink. So I think I need a few pinks just because there's a more intense pink, a darker pink, and then we go into paler pinks. Oh, I like this one. I think the 3 of them would be really good together. This one is salmon pink. Okay, so we have this. And then for the inside part, I think I need to choose an orange. This might be the orange. Yes, this is good for the inside part. This is orange. Then I still need a few yellows, so I wasn't sure. Maybe this one is too close to the orange. I think maybe I need something a bit paler, but maybe the 2 of them together could be good also. So we have golden yellow right here. Then I have 2 contenders for a kind of a mid yellow. We have yellow, very original names. And we have canary yellow. I think I like canary yellow better. And then for the palest yellow, I kind of have only one option, so it's gonna have to do, but I think it's gonna be okay. Yeah, this is gonna work. This is pale yellow. All right. And then for the stem, it's kind of a reddish brown stem. Let's start with the brown, burnt sienna. It's quite dark, but for the darkest area, I think it might work very well. Then we have a red, we have crimson alizarin hue, and then we have raw sienna. So I think my plan was to mix maybe the 3 colors together to create the different parts of the stem. And then for the sky, I need a pale blue. So I have 3 options. The first one is light blue. Then I have light cobalt blue hue. I like this. I feel like this is too dark. And then I have something that is a bit maybe too on the green side. We have turquoise blue. Or what if I mix the 2 of them together? Let's try. Or if I mix these 2 together. I think that this is not too bad. I think this is too green. I don't know how much water I'm going to use in my drawing. Maybe I won't use any water at all. But I just want to see what it looks like if I decide to add water. How it changes the color. When I do the final painting, I'm not going to use my Neocolor tools. I'm going to use paint. So hopefully I have better luck, or maybe not luck, but hopefully I'm able to get the exact colors that I want. Oh, I like this. When I add the water for this one, it becomes a little bit redder. Makes the red pop a bit more. So this is good. Oh, this too. Yeah. Maybe for the sky, I'm going to add water just because it's going to dilute the color a little bit more, make it paler, which is what I'm looking for, something pale. This is the mix. Not bad. We'll start our sketch. Okay, so this is exciting. I also took my white out just because I think that I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna start with the center and I'm just gonna follow my intuition and start applying some colors in the inside. Really the thing that I'm most excited about is this pink. So I'm doing a rough first pass. Okay, now let's work on our second sketch, which is a close-up version of this one. I think this time I'm going to start with the lightest areas first, just to see if anything different happens. What I like about using my Neocolor tools for sketching is that it's a quick way to sketch, to place colors roughly, but also it's just so much fun. Once you add the water and you activate the water-soluble properties of this media and it dries, after you can always add more on top, which gives you a lot of flexibility, I find. So now I kind of put white in a lot of places and we'll see what we get. So I'm going to get my lightest pink and continue placing my light shades. When I add the water, all of these colors are going to mix together and hopefully we're gonna get a nice result. Kind of being mindful of where I'm going to place my shadows later on, just so it's easier for me to work. But I could put my shadows on top of an area that I've already drawn, and for the most part I would have no problem. For me, I feel like in this drawing particularly, the shadows are the most fun to place, just because the colors pop a lot more. But it depends, with every drawing my favorite color changes all the time. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with my salmon pink, which is like a warmer color, because I feel like I have two tones of like mid-tone pinks. I have a warm tone and cool tone, and the warm tone is where the petals are a little bit not thinner, but I feel like the light hits them differently, so I want to capture that. But I feel like I almost need a neon pink in some areas. In some areas I want to add some blue just to hopefully gray out some shadows. What's also nice about using Neocolor tools to create sketches is that you kind of have somewhat of a limited color selection. So after you chose the few colors you're gonna work with, you can really focus on color placements and values. Now I'm adding the most interesting pink, the part I was kind of waiting for here. And then I want to add some red just to deepen some areas and hopefully create the sense that there is a shadow, or like create a shape in my petals so that they are not just flat objects but they are curved. And I feel like this is quite hard to showcase, but this is the challenge we're dealing with. And let's just do the inside of the flower. Just working on the shading and harmonizing everything together. Okay, now let's work on the stem part. Let's start with the lightest area first, and then we're just gonna blend with some more colors. Okay, now let's add some sky. Another advantage of doing multiple sketches is that with each sketch I learn what I like, what I don't like when it comes to color placement. With the Neocolor tools, it's very quick to sketch, So it's kind of an easy way for me to make a lot of decision when it comes to my final image. I want to start with the lightest areas, just because I don't want to mix these parts too much, so I preserve the colors. And now I'm just adding the colors, merging the areas together that needs to be merged. Working my way section by section, basically. Okay, now let's work on the sky. And when this dries, I'm going to add a little bit more bright pink, I think, just because I feel like we've lost some of it, at least in our color mixing. If you were wondering, I use a watercolor pencil to do my under sketch. I don't know if you can call it that way. Okay, now that it's dry, I'm going to add some colors here and there to accentuate some areas. So I would like to create maybe a purple or something, just to show that there is a shadow here. So hopefully when I add the water over this section, I'm gonna get a purple. Let's test it right now. I could also take a purple from my colors, which I think might be easier, because see what we're doing now is we're kind of reactivating the layer that was underneath, which is not exactly what I want to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add some more bright pink in the areas where I want more bright pink, and then in the areas where I want a purple, I'm just going to add a purple. I think it's going to be simpler for everybody. Okay, today is another day. After having a look at these, I noticed that one problem that I have is my values. I feel like I have no deep value. They're pretty much all midtones or light colors. So I decided to use this darker color, this lilac, to create my darkest shade, even though it doesn't fit exactly with the color palette. In this instance, I don't have the perfect color, and since this is just a sketch, I don't want to work too much to blend colors together. This is not the purpose of this exercise. Right now, I'm just trying to find out which composition I like the best. Another thing I want to say is I think that if my values are right, the colors become a bit more irrelevant. So who's gonna know that it's not the exact color? Just you and me. I'm placing the darkest colors first. Here I wanted to mix this dark and this pink. This dark is a little bit lighter than this dark here, so I'm just putting a bit less of this purple, and I'm going to put more pink on top, and I think there's also a blue tint to it, so I'm going to add some blue as well. And we'll see if adding that purple will have improved our drawing or not. Quite excited to see. Okay, then let's introduce our bright pink. Okay, now let's introduce a bit of salmon pink. I feel like this is going quite well. There's less pink in this one, so I don't know how I'm gonna like it, but I feel like the values are better. Now the stem with all the different colors. I really like to see some red popping up, so let me be generous with my red. So I'm not very precise. If this was a final drawing, then I would be careful with my placement. I would make sure that my tip is sharper, but for this it's okay. I don't really need to be that precise. What's nice with this composition is that I can work on the gradient a lot more. There's a lot of red on the bottom of this flower, so I'm going to make some colors here because I don't think I have the exact color that I need. So I see that there's more blue in the bottom here and more red here, so it's warmer. So I'm adding some blue, but only on the bottom. Here I could even add a bit more warmth. The petals are done, so we're just gonna do the background. And now I'm wondering, do I make it blue, just like the sky, or in my reference picture it's kind of brown? I think blue would be better. I think it would be much nicer. We have much less sky in this one, so I think having a blue background would make that flower pop a lot more. So I'm kind of choosing which colors I start with when I add the water, so I don't muddy some areas. There's areas where I want to preserve the brightness of the colors, like that bright pink. So in this instance, I'm starting with the bright pink because I felt like before when I didn't, I kind of lost that pink. When I started with the lighter colors, maybe these colors contain white or something, and it kind of muddies up that pink. So I'm just trying some stuff without stressing too much about it, because this is just for the purpose of sketching, so it's fine if it's not perfect. This is just a way to allow me to see quite quickly what compositions I prefer, if I need to do something specific for my colors when it comes the time to work on the official painting, which I think in this instance might be a painting on canvas, which is not something I do a lot. Okay, let's work on the inside of the flower. I'm starting with the lightest area in this instance because I don't want to muddy the color, and then I go around and I mix it a little bit with that pink that I added to create the impression of the color darkening when it goes further into the inside of the flower. I really like this one. I like how we have the emphasis in the inside of the flower, and I have more space to work on little details, just like this texture. And in a real painting, if I decided to do this one, I would take more time and I would, add more colors everywhere, more texture. Yeah. Now we're gonna move on, and we're gonna work on our third composition, which is this one. It's kind of I like it. I like the movement in this one. You know what? Let me start with the sky. I really like doing the sky first last time I did it, so I'm gonna do it and then we'll work on the flower. I think I'm gonna work on these two sketches at the same time because realistically I'm gonna use the same colors, and I think it's gonna be so much faster if I do that. But the thing I want to do to start off with is start with the kind of blue tones that I can see in the shadows. So first I'm going to put some pink where I want to add blue on top, just because the sky is blue. If I add more blue, I fear that I might get myself confused and not know where the flower starts and where the sky starts. So that's why. But we're gonna add some blue on top. I really like this shape in the flower, and it might be easier to do because we don't see the middle. I thought I really loved the middle. Maybe it's gonna be way easier for me if I don't have to paint the middle. Yeah, I feel like this shape is just so interesting. It looks like it's flying. It makes me think of a willow tree and also a bird, both of these things at the same time. Okay, now I'm gonna add some blue. So it's still kind of pink, which is the color of the petal, but it's bluer because I think since it's pretty thin, it's a thin petal, we can see the sky a little bit through the petal. That's why the shadows are blue, and also the flower is kind of in the shade, so I think that's why we can see a little bit more cooler tones. I want to add some brighter pink. So I'm going back and forth between the two illustrations just because I want to do the exact same thing on both ones. And I could add a bit of white too in some areas. I feel like adding the white like this kind of blends the colors together. This is the most fun part. I feel like we develop the sketch by adding the water. At this point I could have also just left it like that without adding the water, because the purpose of this right now is just to have a better look at compositions. But I feel like it's so fun with Neocolor tools to add the water. For me, it's my favorite part. So even though it's not necessary for the purpose of this art day today, I still want to do it. Alright, so that's it. That's what we get after a few sketches using the Neocolor tools. I love the process. It was so much fun, and it really helps to see quickly what compositions I might want to do, what should I do with my colors, and what order to use them. Of course, when I use paint, I might have to do some things a bit differently. That's normal. And it also showed me where the most difficult areas could be. Like, for example, inside the flower here, it's kind of hard to convey the shadows in there. So I would have to work quite a bit harder to do that. I think after all of this, I really like this one the most. Maybe one of these two, I'd be interested in painting it, but I don't think that I would paint these. Now that I see the whole thing, yeah, I feel like this is much more interesting. Just the shape of it, the flowiness. So this is something that you can do with your Neocolor tools. It's a quick way to do some thumbnails basically before you go and paint the final image. Because I have to say, before doing this, I was pretty sure I was doing this one. And after doing these four, then I decided, oh, I would be doing this one instead. I prefer this one. But then after doing the whole lot of them, I'm not sure I'm gonna do this one. It's very useful, and it is also so much fun. So I really recommend doing that. Well, let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know if it's something that you might like to do. And I will see you again in 2 weeks. Take care.